Good evening. This is Mayor Jason Gray. Thank you for joining tonight's live town hall meeting hosted by the town of Castle Rock. We'd like to welcome everyone who's in person and everybody who's online already, and hopefully you guys can get in online and on your phones as quickly as possible, and we'll get you into the queue. Tonight's live town hall topic is important for town's future. We're going to talk about the town's financial outlook for 2025 and beyond. While the town's overall financial condition remains strong, our sales tax revenue has recently plateaued. This means that we will be challenged to add fire and police personnel needed to serve the growing community in the long run. Tonight, we will hear from panelists that are anticipated resources and anticipated needs related to the town's finances over the next 5 years. We hope you'll stay with us for the entire time. Our Finance Director, Trish Mueller, will tell you a little bit about tonight's format.
Thank you, Mayor Gray. Like the mayor said, tonight we are talking about town finances over the next 5 years. Each year, we ask for the public's feedback as we prepare for the upcoming year's budget for Town Council's consideration. We hope you find it convenient being able to participate in tonight's call from wherever you are, rather than having to come to a particular location to share your feedback. We want this to be very interactive, so if you would like to ask a question, please press *3 on your telephone keypad, and you will be transferred to an operator who will then take down some basic information. Once the operator notes your information, you will be returned to the call, and you can listen to the conversation until it is your turn to ask your question. So remember, press *3 on your keypad to ask a question or to provide a comment. Those of you listening in via Facebook can submit your question as a comment, and we will get your feedback in front of the panel just as soon as we can. And of course, those attending in person will be able to ask their questions live during a segment later on in the presentation. We will get to your questions very soon, but first, I would like to turn it over to Town Manager David Corliss.
Thank you, Trish, and good evening, everyone. Like Mayor Gray mentioned, the town's finances are relatively healthy, but we still remain challenged to add all of the firefighters and police officers needed to keep providing outstanding services here in Castle Rock. Now, we know police and fire are our top priorities for our residents. During our recent public safety ballot measure survey, 82% of respondents said they approved of the job our police department is doing, and 88% said they approved of the fire department's work. Tonight, we're here to listen to your thoughts about how the town can continue to ensure outstanding public safety. Our fire chief and one of our police commanders are on tonight's panel to share their perspectives. So if you're listening on the phone and you want to ask a question, press *3 on the telephone keypad. Again, that's hit star first and then 3 on the telephone keypad. We also want to hear your feedback. In fact, I'm going to turn things over to our moderator, Roger, for our first survey question.
All right. Thank you, Dave and staff. As Dave mentioned, we are going to ask our first survey question. But before we do, I want to remind those of you listening on the phone and who would like to ask a question, again, press *3 on your telephone keypad. And if you are watching us on Facebook tonight, enter your question as a comment. Now, let's get to our first survey question. It is easy to participate. All you have to do is use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. Those of you here in the meeting room should have received a paper copy of the questions. And if you arrived late and did not receive a copy, just raise your hand and let us know. Here's the question. Would you support or oppose a modest sales tax increase to create additional funding for the Castle Rock Police Department and Castle Rock Fire and Rescue? Press 1 if you would definitely support. Press 2 if you would probably support. Press 3 if you would probably oppose. Press 4 if you would definitely oppose. And press 5 if you're undecided. So record your vote now. We'll report on the results after we hear a bit more from our panelists and take a few questions. Again, as a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, press *3. Dave, back to you.
Thank you, Roger. This question about a potential tax increase raises an important topic, the town's financial resources. I think it's important to start by letting everyone know that shopping in Castle Rock is one of the most important actions you can take to support the town's public safety services. Sales tax is the largest general revenue source for the town, budgeted to bring in about $75 million this year. Now, that $75 million is compared to property tax, which is only budgeted to bring in $1.5 million. We know that property tax is a significant payment for homeowners, amounting to an average valued home paying $345 per month to all of the different taxing entities. However, the town's slice of that pie only comes out to about $3 per month out of that $345 per month. I'm going to turn it back over to Finance Director Trish Mueller to dig into the numbers a bit further. Then we'll take some questions before hearing from our fire and police departments. Trish?
Thank you, Dave. The town is facing challenges as revenue from both sales tax and residential development has slowed down. Since 2022, the town has been shifting funding away from road maintenance to instead hire fire and police personnel. Now, resources are plateauing and cannot continue to meet those department staffing needs over the next 5 years. Town staff has explored alternatives and is proposing budget adjustments to make added resources available for public safety, including diverting of over $1 million away from downtown projects, deferring positions and software purchase and other items. Another solution that we've been discussing with Town Council is a 0.2% sales tax increase, which would amount to about 20 cents on a $100 purchase. The bulk of the funds generated would allow the town to hire 40 additional public safety positions between 2025 and 2029. We'd like to know what those participating think about the town's fiscal management. Roger, I do believe we have a survey on this topic.
Indeed, we do, Trish. In case you just joined us, it's easy to participate. All you have to do is use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. And again, if you're in the room, just mark your responses and we'll collect those later. Here's the question. Do you agree or disagree with the following statement? The town of Castle Rock is fiscally responsible and spends taxpayer money wisely. Press 1 if you strongly agree. Press 2 if you somewhat agree. Press 3 if you somewhat disagree. Press 4 if you strongly disagree. And press 5 if you do not have an opinion. Go ahead and record your vote now, and we will share those results with you in a minute. While I have the floor, I'll share the results from our first survey question. Again, we asked, would you support or oppose a modest sales tax increase to create additional funding for Castle Rock Police Department and Castle Rock Fire and Rescue? A majority of you, 46%, said you would support a modest sales tax increase. 40% said you would oppose. And we appreciate your participation. We'll have some more questions later. To add a bit more context to that feedback, in a recent town text message poll, 57% of respondents said they would vote yes to approve a 0.2% sales tax if it were on the ballot. Mayor Gray, do you have any thoughts about these results?
Yeah, I'm first very thankful that people are participating. Thank you very much for participating online. And two is of course this is why we're here. We're here to get your feedback, and we're hoping that that we can give some good information to you guys, and you guys can give some good information back to us. Thank you very much. Given the importance of the public safety to our community, we've asked both the fire chief and the police commander to join tonight's call to share a bit about the department's needs over the next 5 years. Before turning things over to Chief Croom, I want to share a fact of the quality of the town's public safety departments. Both the Chief Croom and the police chief, Jack Cawley, serve on executive leadership roles on international boards for their professions. It is extremely rare to see the fire and police chief from the same community both serving on these boards. The fact is our chiefs hold such prestigious positions in their fields as a testament of the quality of their leadership and the public safety departments we have serving in Castle Rock. Chief Croom, thank you for your service. Can you please share what's ahead for Castle Rock Fire Department?
Absolutely, and thank you, Mayor. I'm glad to share a little bit about our Castle Rock Fire and Rescue's future needs. Our current master plan includes nearly 20 recommendations, all aimed to help us achieve our vision of being the best at providing emergency and prevention services. The recommendation of greatest consequence, though, is to the entire community is the need to add a fourth ambulance to serve the town. Currently, there are on average 18 minutes a day when all three of our current town's ambulances are on calls. That means no ambulance is available to respond should another call occur. 9 of the 18 positions that the sales tax increase would allow would go to the staffing of that fourth ambulance and put it in service. Additionally, we're working on building Station 156, our next station, out to primarily serve the Terrain and Cobblestone Ranch neighborhoods. Design of the station is currently underway, and we hope to be able to open it in 2026. 6 of the positions that would be allocated through the potential sales tax would help in staffing that station. The other 3 positions, so a total of 18, would help fire prevention education, vehicle maintenance, and administrative support. We understand the gravity of asking the community for additional resources, but we need your support in order to be able to respond and keep up with the 61% increase in calls that we have seen over the last decade. With that, Roger, can we take some questions from our live audience?
You bet we can. But first, let me welcome you, those of you that are joining late. The topic tonight is very important to Castle Rock's future. While the town's overall financial condition remains strong, sales tax revenue has recently plateaued, and the town faces challenges adding the fire and police personnel needed to serve our growing community in the long run. If you'd like to ask a question again, please press *3 on your telephone keypad. Those participating on Facebook can type their question as a comment. And again, those of you here in the hearing room, just let us know if you'd like to ask a question when we come to that segment of the evening. So let's take our first question, and we're going to go and hear from Gail. Gail, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Dale. Chief, what's the annual run number of the Castle Rock Fire Department?
So the annual call volume for 2023 was 6,340 calls. Of that, about 65% are medical related.
All right, thank you. Let's go back to the phones and talk to Alex. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah. So I wanted to know what is the actual benefit to increasing police presence within Castle Rock? Like, what is the material benefit for the people, like, just generally?
Thank you for that question. And we're going to discuss some of this in detail, but to address it broadly, as the community grows, so does our calls for service. And we have to continue to manage those calls for service. And we have to have a commensurate increase in the number of police officers to handle those calls of service. If that doesn't happen, we're going to go from what is right now a very proactive model of policing to what will eventually become a very reactive model of policing. So we will simply respond to calls as they come in because we won't have the manpower to do some of those proactive approaches.
All right, thank you. Here's a question that came in on Facebook, and they ask, I lost it now, shouldn't the town have planned for this while they were planning for development expansion? David?
I can answer that question, Roger. The answer is we have planned. As you'll see in the materials that we're presenting this evening, we've been able to add over 30% more police officers and over 30% more fire personnel in the past 9 years as the community has grown. Part of our plan has been to effectively utilize that personnel to keep our community among the safest in Colorado, one of the safest suburbs in the country, and one that continues to be recognized for its innovative programs in that area. So I believe we have planned, but what we are noticing is that over the next 5 years and a little bit further, as a new plan calls out, we're going to need additional resources to maintain what's been referred to as the margin of excellence. If we don't successfully get this ballot measure approved, we'll still have a police department, we'll still have a fire department. We may be able to occasionally add staff to that, But over time, we're going to lose that notion of excellence, and I believe, unfortunately, slip perhaps into mediocrity where we just don't have the staffing that we need. So I think my response to the question is we have planned in the past successfully. Now we're developing a new plan, a new 5-year plan that we are desiring to implement, and we're going to need additional resources in order to do that.
All right, let's go back to the phone and hear from David. David, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to know. Why can't we push any of this cost back on the developers that are coming into town, making their money and then leaving, and maybe increasing some permit fees, things of that nature, across the board instead of having to put this burden back on the citizens of the town?
David, thank you for that question. I think it's a good question. In 2021, town staff proposed, town council put on the ballot a excise tax that would have applied just to new residential construction. And that was the thinking, was because we wanted to put additional burden on new residential construction within the community. That failed. The voters didn't approve it. So we're not going to go back and waste time trying to do that again. We're instead going to look at a sales tax. Keep in mind that 60% of our sales tax is paid by people who do not reside in Castle Rock. They are visitors. They may be visitors from just around Castle Rock, or they may be visitors coming through regionally or internationally and shopping at the outlet mall. So we think that that is a good way to get additional resources from individuals that use town services. You also need to keep in mind that we already do a substantial impact fee and system development charge requirement on new development within the community. You pull a building permit for a 2,400 square foot home in Castle Rock today, you're going to pay over $90,000 in town fees and taxes just to get the permit. That doesn't give you the land. That doesn't give you a stick of lumber. That's just our impact fees and taxes on that new development. And we use that money to build new fire stations, to enlarge roads, to do other things. So we already do put a substantial burden on new construction within the community. We have among the highest impact fees on the Front Range. We have an exaction that requires them to give us 20% of their land for open space. So we're not ignoring the fact that we want to put mandates on and requirements on new development. But there's no point, when the voters just recently disapproved the excise tax on new residential construction, to try that again. We're going to do. We believe the best method is to ask for a sales tax increase that would be paid by all of the shoppers in Castle Rock. But thank you for your question.
Facebook. They ask, oops, I've lost it now on our list. I'm sorry. We've got so many questions. Let's go to the phone and we'll come back to that one. Let's hear from Kelly next. Kelly, you're live. Go ahead.
Hi. So I have a kind of a similar question as to the last guy, but the town is charging us additional sales tax in regards to the PIF tax that goes back to companies like Costco, Alberta Development Group, Confluence. So how does the town justify asking the citizens to increase the rate of what they're paying when we're giving kickbacks to such big companies? And then on top of that, there's talk of spending $73 million on a new rec center with a lot of deductions back to the builder. So I'm questioning how the town can justify that, and where I think that fire and police are of utmost importance.
It was Kelly. Kelly, thank you for your question. I think we've done very targeted incentive packages for development. In many cases, never sharing risk, but sharing revenue with some of the projects in the downtown area. That was the purpose behind the voter-approved Downtown Development Authority, is to share some of that revenue to get some level of revitalization in the downtown. In regards to Costco, Costco will generate $6 to $8 million a year in new sales tax. We have included that in our revenue, and that's going to help us a lot in our ability to continue to hire and retain police and fire and alike town services. We are providing an incentive for Costco. Almost every community in the country that gets a Costco provides some level of incentive because, again, they're providing $6 to $8 million a year in new sales tax revenue to the community. The town council has not approved the Brickyard project. Right now, we're not getting a dime of sales tax from the Brickyard location. It's the old Acme brick site. It's been leveled as a manufacturing facility. We're not getting any money at all from that facility, and the developer is proposing to build the roads, get all of the infrastructure to that location, and significantly get all of that to the location of a new recreation center. It would be paid for not with general sales tax, but from impact fees that we already generate in regards to growth, and some of the sales tax that is generated from the Brickyard site. That has not been approved. Council has not made any final decisions on that. But again, those have been targeted incentives for the community. Similarly to Promenade. Promenade is the reason why we've not had to go back to voters more frequently for sales tax or property tax increases. It has provided a huge share of sales tax growth within the community that has allowed us to staff new fire stations, allowed us to add more police officers, more school resource officers. So some of that targeted incentive we think has paid off, and more than glad to walk people through more specific numbers in regards to that. But
book that came in from Mike. Mike asks, why isn't the town cutting non-critical positions like HR, sorry to those HR professionals listening in, and using the money saved to fund police and fire?
I kept looking for Mike, but you want me to hit the microphone?
Yes.
Good. Okay. No, a very good question. We have really tightened our belt in regards to the back of house operations here at Town Hall. When you look at our 5-year plan as to what we're going to be adding, we're going to add an IT professional that primarily will be helping our public safety departments, particularly the camera work that our police department has. We don't plan on adding any other in our finance or HR or legal or communications or any of those things. When you stack up our staffing level for IT, for example, versus communities of a similar size, we just come out far ahead. And that includes the fact that we also have our own dispatch requirements with IT and those kinds of things. In regards to human resources, I think we've added one staff person there in the 9 years that I have been here. And obviously, as we grow the number of town employees, as we grow the number of police officers, firefighters, there's additional demand in regards to helping them with health insurance and retirement benefits and all those other things that you see HR professionals do. So we really have not added very much to what I call the back of house, the operational backbone of Town Hall. And I'm very happy to defend those numbers and those staffing levels against any other community that provides similar services.
All right, thank you for those great questions. We'll get back to questions in a few minutes. Before we move on, I'd like to share the results of our second survey question. We asked whether you agree or disagree with the statement, the town of Castle Rock is fiscally responsible and spends taxpayer money wisely. 53% of respondents on the phone said they agreed with that statement. We appreciate that feedback. Now, let's hear from Police Commander Sam Varela, who is sitting in tonight for Chief Jack Colley, about what's ahead for CRPD. Commander, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. I'm sure everybody listening appreciates how fortunate we are to have such a safe community here at Castle Rock. A lot of the credit for that goes to the men and women of the Castle Rock Police Department. We truly have the best that are working for us, and this is evidenced by the fact that we're able to stay on top of the issues of a growing community, despite the fact that we have relatively low police staffing levels. So let me put that into perspective. So the national average for police officers is about 2.4 officers for every 1,000 residents that a community has. In some local communities, when we look at, say, Greenwood Village and Lone Tree, that number is over 4 officers per 1,000 residents. We have just 1.1 officers per 1,000 residents. That's less than half of the national average. And we're very proud of how effective and efficient we are. But as the town grows, certainly we're going to lose some ground unless we can add more officers to help us keep up. With our anticipated growth, we need nearly 20 sworn positions over the next 5 years. Certainly there's some civilian positions that we would also benefit from. Those positions are going to help us with animal-related issues, technology needs, as well as dispatching. So the sworn positions we're planning would increase our school resource officers by 63%. So that's going to take your average SRO from 7 schools that they have to patrol to just 3 schools. We would also see a 75% increase in our traffic unit officers, and we would also add an additional officer to each of our patrol shifts. So that's going to help us manage a very wide range of calls for service and really help us maintain that great quality of life that we have here in Castle Rock. And I know the town manager, Corliss, also has some thoughts on this.
Just some quick comments. We've approached the issue of asking voters for a tax increase with a great deal of trepidation. In Colorado, I think we're fortunate that the only time that government can increase taxes is if voters have approved it at a November election. So we want to be very smart and targeted in regards to that request. We've looked internally first as to what we can do in order to provide additional resources for our police and fire departments. Here, a couple of years back, we reduced the amount of money going to our public works department so that we could increase the amount of money going to our police and fire departments. That means we're going to spend a little bit less money on street maintenance, but more money on police and fire. Also, we're reducing the amount of money that we are going to put into our Downtown Development Authority special fund in regards to funding the downtown needs, so that we can put that money towards our police and fire department. Our sales tax has been strong enough for us to be able to grow our police department staffing by 36% and our fire department staffing by 30%. But our revenue outlook just is going to be more constrained. We don't see sales tax keeping up with our personnel staffing costs like they need to. And most importantly, we're not getting to what we wanted to do in 2021, which was to provide an increased amount of staffing for our police and fire departments. Again, I've already mentioned that the majority of shoppers in Castle Rock come from out of town. We think that is an important issue. That compares to property tax, where all Castle Rock residents pay the property tax. Sales tax is a shared burden by a lot of other people as well. So I think it's time, Roger, that we take another look at a survey question.
Thank you, David. Again, use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. Here's that third question. The sales tax rate in the town of Castle Rock has not changed since 2011. Knowing this information, press 1 if you are much more likely to support a sales tax increase. Press 2 if you're somewhat more likely to support a sales tax increase. Press 3 if you're somewhat less likely to support a sales tax increase. Press 4 if you are much less likely to support a sales tax increase. And press 5 if you wouldn't support a sales tax increase to hire more firefighters or police officers, regardless of when the tax rate last changed. Go ahead and record your vote now, and we'll share the results in a few minutes. And now we're going to go take a question or two from our audience here in the hearing room. Gary, the gentleman in the front there.
Yes, my name is Carl Oser, and I've lived in Castle Rock since 1978. And I've produced a few numbers here that I think everybody might be interested in that I got off the internet. And the growth of Castle Rock since 2010 to 2020 was 52%. I also gained some numbers from 2022 to 2024. Castle Rock has grown 15.5%. But with the construction that's currently going on in Castle Rock, just in the obvious buildings that you can see, for example, Dawson Trail, which is coming up, Riverwalk, Canvas, Bridgewater, and The View, I come up with a 3 people per residence of 19,611 increased people. Also, we're going to have the Costco coming into town, which is an increase of 23% over what we currently have when those are built out without housing developments or anything else. Those are just apartments and Dawson Trail. And I think that when you put a tax in place, it never goes away. And I think with the increase, and for example, on the Dawson Trail, they're also talking about 3.2 million square feet of commercial development, which should bring in a tremendous amount of revenue. And I think we need to grow the police department and the fire department, but I think it needs to be grown with money that is gained as the population grows. And we are going to have an explosion in the population within the next 5 years.
Thank you very much for those statistics, for the comments. We see the growth. We definitely see the growth here in town, and that's why, as Commander Varela said earlier, we see the growth. We do operate a very lean business here. However, in order to continue with those service levels, we do need an additional funding source. You mentioned Costco coming online, and absolutely, that's recorded in our budget for when they I believe it's 2027, I believe is when we have that coming through. So we are taking that into account. There's a lot of growth and we have a lot of needs, and that's why we're here before you to present this on a potential sales tax.
We need the microphone.
Between now and 2038, that's another published figure. So I think as these retail stores open up and as the people grow in Castle Rock, they're going to be spending their money in Castle Rock. And I think we need to grow the police and the fire department based on those revenues, because a tax never goes away.
All right, we appreciate
I'm one
that
of the
input.
fortunate people that got a 48% property tax increase. And this month, my water bill was $370, and I'm on fixed income.
All right, let's go back to the phone now for another question, and that is John. You're live. Go ahead.
Hi, I've lived here probably not as long as the last person, but I agree with him with the fact that our property tax went up. Mine went up 50%, and I'm sure that went across the whole board because Douglas County is a very high property taxed area, and I get that. So where's that money going? My second part is to this. So if we're going to increase our funding for our police and hire more police and fire, how do we get it on the city charter books to say that we keep up with that population? The other part to this, and I'm sorry it's taken so long, but when you raise sales tax in the town, I keep on hearing that, oh yeah, all these other people come from out of town to buy stuff here. But that sales increase also affects the people and the residents of this place, because we shop here too, because we don't want to drive to Denver for King Soopers. We shop here too, so that's going to affect us also. I know a lot of emphasis has been put on people from out of town coming here to shop and raising and getting that revenue there, but you have to think about your residents of here also and how it's going to affect them. I mean, everything's going up, and not everybody's making the same amount of money that we were 5 or 6 years ago.
Dave, you want to respond to that?
Sure. No. Thank you for your question. Just as when you go grocery shopping and you wonder why your bill is so high, it's good to look at the bill. When you look at your property tax bill, what you see is that $600,000 valued home in Castle Rock pays under $40 per year in town property taxes because the school district, the county, and the library district have substantially higher property tax mill levies. And then also a number of people in Castle Rock live in metropolitan districts that are still assessing those properties for all of the improvements that they put in that subdivision. So that's where your property tax bill is going. It's not Again, we get $1.5 million for the entire town in regards to property tax. Our property tax revenue increased $80,000 this year. That's not enough to even hire one police officer when you throw in salary and benefits. And again, I want to get back at the comment that somehow we're going to be having a windfall of new revenue in the community. We have calculated our sales tax over the next 5 years. We budget for 1 year and we plan for 5. We've not assumed a recession. We've included a 3% sales tax increase over the next 3 years. And then when Costco comes online, a 4.5% increase in sales tax in every year. It's not enough. It does not keep up with the salary demands, particularly in regards to the police and fire department, where we're seeing that their salaries are increasing 7%, 8% per year in order to keep up with the market demand for those positions. That's just the bottom line. It's not enough money. Are we going to see some growth in our sales tax because of growth in the community? Absolutely. It's not enough. And that's why we need to talk about having a sales tax increase. In Colorado, I also want to, we recognize that we shop here in town. We live here in town. We have to buy things here in town as well. It impacts all of us in regards to a sales tax increase. I think the real question for Castle Rock is, do you want to maintain that margin of excellence for your police and fire departments, or do you want to risk that it's going to kind of atrophy away because police officers and firefighters are going to be running from call, have to come from Larkspur because our 3 other ambulances are too busy?
Thank you, Dave. And great questions. We'll get back to questions here in a minute. Before we hear more from the town manager and finance director, let's share the results of the third survey question, where we asked whether the fact that the town's sales tax rate has not changed since 2011 impacts the degree to which you would support a proposed sales tax increase. 58% of the respondents said they would be more likely to support a proposed increase now that they know or knowing that information. David, would you like to talk more about the town's larger financial picture?
Well, again, the town is healthy, but we also have an expectation for excellent services. We've got a lot of strains in various departments. Our development department is downscaling. It is because of the lack of growth within the community. Our building permits have been cut in half over the past couple of years with higher mortgage interest rates. We're not growing as much. We are reducing our staffing among our inspectors and development services. Those people are not paid with tax dollars. They're paid with development fees. Our water department is similarly challenged that with the lack of growth, we're not able to keep up with some of our substantial capital demands. It's a great testament to our water department that we've had record water usage over this weekend, and we've done it in a way that we're all still able to take our Saturday evening baths, that we're still got great water service in Castle Rock. As a general rule, we're really in pretty good shape in regards to finances, but as we plan for the future, we know we're going to be police officers and firefighters because of that cost and because our revenue is just simply not going to keep up.
All right. Mayor Gray, I think we are going next to you.
Sure. Thanks, Roger, and thanks, David. And to kind of piggyback on Dave's comment earlier regarding engaging in communities of discussions on ballot item, we are also hearing a lot about property tax. It's important for us to spend a few minutes to share to residents what a bargain it is to receive the service of town of Castle Rock. The median home value, as Dave Cordes mentioned, is over $663,000. Many people don't believe me when I tell them the average homeowner pays a value of just over $37 a year to property taxes in the town. It's one of the lowest property taxes per year on the Front Range, if not the entire nation. And it's just one of those things that a lot of people don't, when they're reading their tax assessment, I understand it's big, but it's not big from Castle Rock. As we mentioned earlier, the first 11 days of the year are paid for by our property tax in Castle Rock, and then the other, 354 days or so are paid through sales tax. And that's just how it is. It's not always the best way to do it, but it's the best way for Castle Rock right now. And we don't believe that increasing property taxes is a good idea for Castle Rock. If even if a homeowner never shopped in Castle Rock, and I sure hope they do, the $37.50, yet their total property tax is much bigger. Again, I explained it a little bit, but Trish, can you explain a little more?
Sure, Mayor. I would be happy to. I know Town Manager Corliss talked a little bit about this, but I'll review some of the details here on a property tax bill. On a median value home, total property taxes range from about $2,900 to $6,700, with the median being right around $4,100, depending on which, if any, metro district that home is in. And that is in addition, or I'm sorry, that's because in addition to the $37.50 that you pay to the town, you pay almost $1,900 to the school district, over $800 to Douglas County, and over $140 to the library district. Again, that's all compared to the $37.50 that you pay annually to the town through property tax. Some metro districts receive thousands of dollars annually in property tax from the average homeowner. The town doesn't control what those other taxing entities charge, nor do we share in their revenue. We only set the town's portion of the property tax, which again equates to under $40 a year on the average home.
All right. Thank you for that information. Kind of a last call. We have about 20 minutes left in the event tonight. So if you still have time to press *3 and ask a question if you'd like to. We'll also, if we need to go back to the audience here, we'll do that. So let's start with hearing from Leanne on the phone next. Go ahead, Leanne.
Hello. I wanted to actually just speak as a first responder myself, to everybody, taking into consideration, of course, the fact that everybody has a different means of income, and making sure that they're keeping up with that appropriately and not being, not having their money come out more than they're coming in. I want to be sensitive to that. But I want to give a little bit of emotional appeal to the situation that we're requesting here with a small sales tax coming into the fire and the police support that we have. I feel like when we service in hospital and somebody has a heart attack, time is of the essence. And I believe in the beginning we were talking about ambulances, and 18 minutes of the time they are completely trumped with no availability. And when I call as a citizen for police support, for ambulance support, for fire support, I want to know and have confidence and be assured that my call is going to be immediately taken care of. And without the support of that, without passing through this particular sales tax increase, we're not going to be guaranteed that. And I understand it already is pretty expensive to be living in Castle Rock, but I also have 2 children, and this is a town of families where I want to know that walking our dog at 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock is safe. All of these things come into play with the support of the community through fire and police. And I just would like, a lot of statistics have been thrown out, of course, but I'd really like people to consider what they would feel like if they got an absolute need to be handled by police and it couldn't be dealt with because we didn't have the support that we needed, because we had to make cuts or we could not hire enough people. It really has to be something that looks to like that.
Leanne, we appreciate your comments. Thank you for taking the time to share them with us. We're going to go next to Paul. Paul, go ahead. You're live.
My question is, if we support this increase, obviously there's going to be support services that are going to be needed. You just can't hire police and fire without support. So it would be IT, HR, fleet services, whatever, that's going to be needed to support this amount of people. And also, I'm concerned about training. I want to keep up a high level of training for these professionals. And I guess my question is that figured into the calculation? And so you guys won't come back to us in like 2 years and ask for more money, a bigger increase?
Paul, thank you for your question, and it's a really important question. The answer is absolutely yes. We have included our ability to ramp up and provide the adequate support for those 40 new positions over 5 years. Within the program, we've got an additional IT, information technology person that would be devoted toward helping the additional work that's particularly required on the law enforcement side. We have an additional person that's going to help in maintaining our fire medical department fleet in regards to the staffing for this as well. That's included in that 40 positions. We've made a lot of efficiencies. Some of it's coming out of COVID, where we're electronically signing documents, where we're doing a lot of other things, where we've been able to reduce some of the back of house staffing demands in regards to the town. We've got about 640 FTE with the town right now, and we think that we are in good shape to be able to handle that side with an additional 40 police and fire personnel over the next 5 years. So the answer to your question is, if voters approve this ballot question, we know what we're going to be doing over the next 5 years. We're going to be collecting that revenue. We're going to be implementing those 22 police, 18 fire positions, and we've got the staffing to be able to do that. We're committed, if this ballot measure passes, to doing that, and we've got it in the ballot language that we will do it. So we're not planning on asking for any additional resources over that period of time, because that sets out our financial plan to accomplish that staffing.
Could I add something about the training component as well? At the Castle Rock Police Department, we're very fortunate. I'm sure I'm speaking for Chief Krim as well, and that we have a very robust training program for our officers. In fact, our department, with over 10 hours of training every single month for a total of 120 hours a year, that's just internal training. Does not include any external training that we might send officers to. But more personnel actually helps that training model. Because if you think about it, while I'm training an officer, I need an officer who's out on the street handling calls for service. And I cannot do that if I don't have the relief factor that allows for it. Chief, would you agree with that as well?
Absolutely, Sam. And that's, from the fire and rescue department side, again, we have very specific requirements as far as how many hours, not only a month, but a year individuals are required to have. And that depends on their certifications as well. If there's paramedics, they have additional requirements for that. If they're technically rescue trained, so hazmat, high angle rescue, confined space, there's additional requirements to that. And we're very fortunate in that we've got staffing currently that can provide that level of training across the board to all of our employees.
All right, let's hear from Alex on the phone. It's kind of a related question. Alex, go ahead.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask about so you said up in Lone Tree, there's 4 officers per 1,000 people, and here it's 1.1, but here it's still expertly safe. I just wanted to ask because I was looking at in preparation for this, a lot of 911 calls that were directly police related were fairly mundane stuff, like noise complaints, stuff like that. And I just wanted to know, is it would it be better for a lot of this police funding to be going somewhere else, the water infrastructure that we previously mentioned? That was that you said it was essentially a miracle that we were able to fund that, and because of the water usage, and that's only going to be getting higher as it's getting hotter. So does it does it really make sense for us to be doing this, even though we realize that currently our police force is good enough?
All right, thank you, Alex. Dave, do you want to maybe address that? It's really prioritization, correct? You've always got lots of competing interests and needs
Sure.
in the
Well,
city.
I think it's important to quickly understand, and I don't want to take too much time at this because I'd be happy to talk offline about it, is that not every public dollar is created the same. The classic example is our water and sewer department. They get no tax dollars. They don't contribute anything to the rest of the organization. Their rates and fees pay for the water system that we all enjoy, but they don't get any tax dollars, and they can't use any of their water rate dollars to hire police officers and firefighters. It's really operated, we call it as a separate enterprise. It's similar to what we do at the golf course, similar to what we do for development services. So not every tax dollar is equated the same. And we look at our water rates on an annual basis. We look at what we're going to charge developers for water on an annual basis and separately. The question, though, that at least I got started off with, and Commander Varela may want to chime in, is that we have an incredibly low number of officers per 1,000 population. And you can look at places like Lone Tree that's got Park Meadows Mall and say, okay, they got a large retail, they need more officers. But look at Parker. Parker's a lot of the same stuff. I mean, I don't think it's as neat a community as Castle Rock, but it's very similar. It's a population of about 60,000. We're a little bit over 85,000. It's continuing to grow. A lot of the other Front Range issues. And as Sam pointed out earlier, if we wanted to have the same ratio of population to officers that Parker has, we'd have to have 22 more police officers today just to meet that ratio. And we do a great job with the resources that we have, but we know we need more resources, and adding maybe 1 or 2 a year, it's just not going to get us there. That's why we're asking voters to consider a sales tax increase.
Okay, great. Thank you. Phil, we're going to take your question next. This is the question I think is related to our earlier discussion, Commander. Go ahead, Phil.
Hello. My name is Phil. I am from the state of California. I've been here about 11 months. I'm a retired police officer from the Bay Area. And my question is along the lines of, are you planning to hire lateral police officers and firefighters as opposed to hiring new hires? And that's, basically just, obviously that kind of fits in as far as budget constraints, because the better laterals you hire are going to cost you more money. So, that's kind of what I was wondering about.
Yep, thanks for the question. So when it comes to hiring, we put a real emphasis on fit. Many times that might be a lateral officer. Sometimes it may be someone who's coming with no experience. For us, it's much more important that we hire the right person for this job rather than just somebody who maybe has some experience but doesn't quite fit what we're looking for at the Castle Rock Police Department. And I would also add that hiring someone with no experience, the additional cost to that is actually pretty nominal as far as sending them to the academy. There is a time expense with that, in that we have to send that person to the academy and then we don't realize them as a FTE on the street for several months while they're conducting their training. But for us, that's an expense that's worth it to make sure that we get the right person that's out there that matches the culture that we're looking for, not only for our police department, but also for our community.
All right. Thank you, Commander.
And I'd say ditto. The fire and rescue department's the same thing. It's all about fit. We can teach people how to be firefighters. We can teach them how to be paramedics, but we can't teach them the fit of our community. And that goes right in line with what Commander Varela was saying with PD, and that fit is the key. We want the right individual serving this community and working for you that's going to provide the level of service that you expect.
All right. Thank you. You've heard a lot of information tonight. Let me give you the web address to look up more information. If you need more information, visit crgov.com/support public safety. Again, crgov.com/support public safety. You'll be able to find more information about this. Let's go to our final survey question. Again, just use your telephone keypad to enter the number of your response. Here's that question. If you had to decide today, how would you vote on a 0.2% sales tax? That's 2 cents on a $10 purchase. That increase would hire 40 police and fire personnel over the next 5 years. Press 1 if you would strongly support. Press 2 if you lean toward supporting. Press 3 if you lean toward opposing. Press 4 if you strongly oppose, and press 5 if you're undecided. Again, a 0.2% sales tax, 2 cents on a $10 purchase. While you're voting, we'll take some more questions. We've got just a few minutes. And we'll go to Carrie next. Carrie, go ahead.
Hi there. Mine's kind of a similar question that others have asked, but have you addressed staying within your current budget and adjusting the priorities within your current budget to allow for this increase in the fire and police personnel?
That's a really good question. I think you should ask that. A potential tax increase. Be more than happy to sit down with you individually and walk you through our budget. Again, I think when you look at the fact that we have been really parsimonious in a lot of our expenditures, some of our one-time expenditures are things that we have saved up a lot of money for. A lot of other expenditures, like a new recreation center, we can only use recreation impact fees for new parks and recreation facilities, so we can't use them to hire personnel. We have not added a lot of staffing to the back of house operations, only as needed. I'll be happy to compare that. Not only our history, but our 5-year plan shows that we're not adding there. Already previously mentioned, we reduced the amount of sales tax that went toward our transportation fund. We used to be putting 25% of our sales tax toward repaving our roads in Castle Rock. We reduced that to 20% so that we could increase the amount of money going to the fund where our police and fire departments live from 70% to 75%. So, and the 5% that goes to support our community center fund for our recreation center stayed the same. So we have reduced other expenditures. We're deferring some software purchases. We're looking at other ways that we can tighten our budget in order to meet those requirements. And that's all quite frankly, in an inflationary environment, in a wage environment where we're having to pay more in order to make sure that we've got people operating the town and the various functions that we provide. So again, I'd be happy to walk people through that, and you can see that we just simply don't have the resources. When we looked at all of that sales tax increase that I talked about, 3% over the next 3 years, then 4.5% for the 2 years that follow that, we were not able to add additional police and fire staffing without either more cuts or a new revenue source.
All right. Thank you, David. Here are the results of our last survey question. Again, we asked, if you had to vote today, would you approve or reject, support or oppose a 0.2%, 2 pennies on a $10 purchase sales tax increase to hire 40 public safety personnel? 66% of you said you would support the tax increase, so we appreciate that. Mayor, we are short on time. We're getting near the end of our hour. Do you have some final thoughts?
Sure, Roger. Thank you very much. First on behalf of the town of Castle Rock, thank you for joining us for this evening, and thanks for all the great questions and comments. One of the things is, the fact is we have great fire and police in Castle Rock, and the fact is we want to keep it that way. I am very proud that the last 6 years since I've been in office, we have been able to increase with town council's support. Town council has been very supportive of police and fire. We have increased police and fire by 30%. And I got to tell you, it's a little disappointing that it's not enough. We need to do more than that. Both police and fire are understaffed, and it's just going to get more understaffed. Dave Cordes mentioned earlier about the excellence that we have. The margin of excellence needs to stay the same or get better. Getting less is not an option. And unfortunately, if we don't pass something like this, I believe that it'll be less and not more. And Castle Rock is a great place to live. I want to keep it that way. We hope you can join us for upcoming events. Opportunities include the Town Council open houses, which kick off next week at Fire Station 153 at Bowders Village, and my State of the Town event on August 13th in Cantrell School. It is my honor to be up here with everybody here. Councilmember LaFleur is here as well. Sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Council LaFleur is here as well. And I want to thank all my council members for all the support of the town in general. And I just truly, really appreciate it. And thanks for staff and Roger and everybody helping out. My honor to represent Castle Rock, and I hope tonight's meeting has helped you learn more about the town's finances and got you thinking about how everyone can work together to support our public safety.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. We are sorry if we did not get to your question tonight, but you can leave us a message, question, or comment. Just stay on the line. You'll be transferred to a voicemail system. On behalf of Mayor Gray and our panelists tonight, thank you for taking part in this town hall. We hope you have a great evening.